Beyond vertical coasters, inverted coasters, and a really awful rental car, I'm Rollercoaster David, and this is Coasting into Walygator and Fraispertuis City. This summer, after parks finally reopened, me and my friend Dave went on a trip to mainland Europe where we'd be visiting several parks that were entirely new to us and revisiting some others that had recently opened new rides. After a short flight, we picked up a rental car in Eindhoven and headed straight to the first park, Toverland, and had a really nice relaxed evening riding Fenix and Troy. The following day would be quite an intense one, as we were visiting two parks but also driving over 300 miles or 500 kilometres. The first park we would be coming to would be Wallygator, a park that had long been on my to-visit list, as it contained the only B&M coaster in Europe that I was still to ride, the Monstre. This inverted coaster is nearly identical to Raptor at Cedar Point, however it has one key difference, which is that the mid-course brake run has been completely removed, making the final part of the ride that bit more intense as the ride no longer slows down. The Monstre actually started out its life in Japan as a Rochi at the now-defunct Expoland in Osaka before it made the move to France in 2010. It's by far the best ride at the park, and it feels fast and aggressive, and it's got that old-school B&M feel to it that makes for blistering pacing and intensity. There are two other adult coasters at the park, however they're much less remarkable. There's a large wooden coaster called Anaconda, which whilst looking impressive, particularly with its entrance sign, gives a rather dull ride. It feels slow and sluggish, and while it wasn't rough, it didn't have any airtime at all, and was really quite a disappointment. It certainly has potential for an RMC conversion, but I highly doubt that the park would spend that sort of money these days. The final coaster we rode at the park was Comet, a Vekoma Hurricane which features a layout with a single vertical loop and a double corkscrew. This coaster nearly spited us, as we didn't have a lot of time to spend at the park, and when we arrived, it had broken down and was stuck on a lift hill. It seemed to reopen briefly before getting stuck again, but eventually got going and we were able to ride. It's decent fun, albeit a bit on the rough side, but that's to be expected from this kind of coaster. Overall, Wallygator was an alright park, but the Monstre is really the only thing worth riding here. We didn't have a lot of time to spend at the park, however, as we had to drive to the second park of the day, Fraispertuis City. So today I've been visiting Fraispertuis City, which is not pronounced Fraispertuis City as I once thought. It's an absolutely really very charming park that's been quite surprising. The theming is really impressive. It's all due to a Wild West theme with a little bit of a Mexican and a little bit of a pirate theme. But as I said, I've been really pleasantly surprised by it. It's just so nicely themed and just a really charming little park. The headlining coaster here is Timber Drop, which may seem familiar as it's nearly identical to Mumbo Jumbo at Flamingo Land and Steel Hog at Indiana Beach. There's also versions of this ride in China and Australia with updated restraints, but apart from that, the only thing that differs between these four coasters is the angle of the first drop. The manufacturer, S&S, basically sold the world record for the steepest coaster to different parks over the course of several years, starting out at 111 degrees and slowly increasing the drop angle with every new installation of the ride at a new park. When Timber Drop opened in 2011, its 113 degree drop did indeed take the record for the steepest coaster, and it managed to hold on to that record for a grand total of just over 2 weeks, when it was beaten by the 121 degree drop on Takabisha at Fuji-Q Highland in Japan. Now personally, I think the record for the steepest coaster got a bit silly after things went beyond 90 degrees. Also, the way in which S&S sold these rides to parks by increasing the steepness of the drop by a single degree at a time, while retaining the same layout, seems really uncreative. If you're going to count beyond vertical drops though, in my opinion the steepest should be the Screaming Squirrel models such as Sequoia Adventure, which were also manufactured by S&S, and that you could argue have a first drop of around 180 degrees. Dodgy records aside, I'm not a great fan of these coasters, as they just feel kind of awkward and poorly paced. The ride is incredibly compact and has a really small footprint, but it's almost as if it was designed that way so as to be the cheapest possible coaster to take a significant world record. I was actually surprised to find out that it was designed by legendary roller coaster engineer Alan Schilke, but I guess we all make mistakes. The other noteworthy and unique coaster at the park is Grand Canyon, a really nicely themed mine train coaster that was a lot of fun. It was really the theming that made it special though, and it even has an oil derrick that shoots out a fireball when the ride goes past. The newest and most impressive ride they have at the park, however, is an Intamin drop tower called Golden Driller that stands at over 200 feet tall and looks huge in a small park like this. It's one of the newest iterations of this ride, as it offers 4 different ways to drop: sitting, standing, sitting with tilt, and a floorless standing variation. Having ridden similar drop towers and knowing that the standing variations can be a bit uncomfortable if you're a bloke, we decided to ride the sitting tilted side. Unlike other tilting seats that have bulky over-the-shoulder restraints, however, the restraints here are actually the more modern and open ones that you can find on drop towers like Zumanjaro or Lex Luthor's Drop of Doom. This made the tilting aspect a lot more unnerving, as you feel way more exposed and less secure, and the drop itself was really quite breathtaking. What do you think of Fraispertuis City, Dave?
What an absolutely gorgeous little park. I loved it. We didn't actually go on many rides, per se, but
It's just a nice park to wander around, and it's been a pretty good day starting out at Wallygator. Well, not starting out in Holland and then driving for ages to Wallygator, and then driving to here, so lots of driving, but good fun day. The one thing that hasn't been so good is this, which is probably what we agreed one of the worst cars we've driven. It's a Mitsubishi Space Star. And it's awful.
Yeah, absolutely awful.
It's got no power whatsoever. The driving position isn't very comfortable. It gets hot as a sauna if you leave it anywhere. It's got a tiny fuel tank and not even Bluetooth. That's the other thing as well. I think every car should have Bluetooth as a bare minimum. Android Auto Plus, but at least you should be able to connect your phone to it. And this one, you can't even do that. It is as basic gets.
Do not hire a Mitsubishi Space Star. Space Star. Look at the size of it.
I think they were being. I think they were being kind of ironic when they chose the name Space Star. So we've just been spending the day at Fraispertuis City, also known as Fraispertuis City, which, if you're an English speaker, is probably the way you pronounce it. It's been a really, really quite charming park that we both really enjoyed.
Beautiful. Really, really nice.
What we don't like is this car, which is shit.
Yes.
So I think there's a good mark of the build quality of this car here, where we have the gear stick with a massive big hole in it. And as I said, no Bluetooth or any sort of connectivity outside of a little auxiliary port at all. So if you want to connect your stereo up, we've been having to use a portable Bluetooth speaker instead.
The door handle's coming off in the back. That's quality craftsmanship, that is.
And generally, it's just shit. But yes, we've had a good day at Fraispertuis City. Yeah, so goodbye to Fraispertuis City, and here it goes. The route from Fraispertuis City to Europa Park ended up being much more interesting than we expected, and included some lovely scenery, a really long tunnel through the mountains, and our final ride of the day, which was actually a ferry across the Rhine. We had just been following SatNav, so expected to find a bridge where it wanted us to cross the river, but when we arrived, this was what we had to take, which confused us a little at first. Next day would see us visiting Europa Park, one of the largest and best parks in Europe, with fantastic coasters such as Woden, Blue Fire and Silver Star. We would also get to experience their newly rebuilt Pirates in Bavaria ride that had just opened a couple of days before our visit. All that should be in a video in the near future, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss it, and if you're new to the channel, why not take a look at some of my other videos from other parks around the world. I've been Rollercoaster David, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you again in another video very soon.